Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to talk about a lot of things. Really plan on being more transparent with you guys and kind of letting you in. But today I want to talk about forgiveness, and I want to highlight a story that helps me. It's a story of Joseph. But before we get into that, the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I felt like right now a lot of us are kind of thinking back to why we feel how we feel about certain things. I know, like, even people of color, people who are white, they have specific experiences with a person that change their whole view of an entire group of people, which is a silly thing, but let's be honest. We are all guilty of doing that in some way or another. I've had horrible experiences with people in different areas, people of different colors, people who are white, officers, great officers and bad officers. I've had my experiences and I've learned how to forgive so that I can not plaster that image on every single person that I meet. So, what helps me is a story about Joseph in the Bible. Joseph was a guy who was favored by his dad more than his brothers. He had a lot of older brothers and they were jealous. They sold him into slavery. His life sucked. I mean, he probably had like good moments, but then he ended up going to jail for something he didn't do. And then, because he ended up interpreting a dream for Pharaoh, he got out of jail and ended up being the second in command, second to him. So, when he finally did see his brothers again, it was because there was a famine and they needed food and he was over that. And so they had to talk to him to get it. And he messed with them a little bit. He didn't make it easy for them. Naturally so. I don't know what I would do. I would be like, what? Oh, yeah. Send that one in jail. I surely probably would abuse my power. I'm gonna be honest with you. So he messed with them a little bit. Eventually, he revealed that he was Joseph. And he told them, what you did to me, you meant for evil, but God meant it for good. And because he was able to look back, and we're not all in that situation where we're all the way in the future, and then you can look back and say, well, you know what? I see why this happened. I see how it kind of helped my life. I see how it made me stronger. Sometimes you're in the situation and it's raw and it's fresh and it hurts. And I want to talk to you today about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about letting the person go or letting them off. It doesn't benefit the person for you to forgive them, it benefits you. There's a lot of research that shows how holding on to stuff like that affects you physically. And you want to make sure that you set yourself up to have the best life that you can, you know? Unless you just like to be miserable. And honestly, I've met some people who just they kind of wear their issues as a badge of honor and they won't let it go. So sometimes there are people who are dealing with that issue. But for those of us who want to move forward, the best way to do so is to be honest and say, God, I'm angry. God, I want to hurt them. God, I want to see them suffer for what they've done to me because they did X, Y, and Z. But your word says that if I don't forgive, then I can't be forgiven. So I'm asking you to help me. This is about your relationship with God. This is about letting him into those parts in your heart that you don't want to let him into. This is about getting to the nitty gritty things. This is about being vulnerable to him and telling him, the God who understands, the God who came in flesh and lived among us and was tempted like we were tempted. You're talking to him and you're saying, God, you know how it is. Jesus was betrayed by Judas. We know he was, right? So he's not a person that doesn't understand what we're dealing with. He does understand what we're dealing with. He understands what it's like to be punished for something you didn't do. Remember, he was crucified as if he was guilty when he was innocent. So God understands what it's like to deal with injustice, and he's the God of justice. So understand that God believes in things coming to fruition, and he believes in people reaping what they sow. So don't think that they're going to get off And also, I want to also talk to an issue where some people feel like, well, if you don't talk to that person anymore, then you didn't forgive them. That is not true. There are toxic people in your life that you can't have around. Like I had a friend, we were really, really close, and she did something to me that I couldn't tolerate. And I don't have friends like that. So I cut her off. Do I love her? Yeah. Would I ignore her if I see her? No. I'm not gonna cross the street. I'm not gonna not have a meal like if she called me or something. No. But that relationship we had is non-existent because I have boundaries. And so we all have boundaries in our lives. And I'm not saying that you need to be chummy with somebody that betrayed you, that hurt you, that you have to let them in. No. But you have to let God in that area in your heart. That's the issue. It's like, God, this hurts. I'm going to let you in. I'm going to let you deal with this issue. I'm going to let you deal with this part of my heart that I really don't want to deal with. So it goes back to that relationship and that trust in God, that if you release this to him, it doesn't mean that that person's off the hook from what they did. You can tell him, Lord, I'm waiting for you to avenge me. Because he said, vengeance is mine. He said, give place to wrath. Vengeance is mine. I will repay. He's like, I get them. Trust me. I see what they did. But trusting him is saying, God, now that I've brought this to you, I'm going to let this go. And I'm going to ask you to help me to get over the anger. Help me to get over the pain of it. See, I dealt with that. I hated my father for a long time because of the things that he did to me, or how I felt neglected, all the things that I went through. I hated him. And I had to learn to forgive because it was not making me a happy person. Like a lot of times I would just be so miserable because I was holding on to all of this pain. And I had to let the Lord in and also receive the love that he was giving me through the people in my life. Sometimes when you hold on to unforgiveness, like, it puts you in a position where you can't even accept or receive love from other people because you're remembering what you went through in the past. And you got to learn to not label everybody. Don't stamp that sticker on everybody that may remind you of that person from the past. I know for me, like, because I went through a lot in worship teams and stuff, it really made me come in with like this feeling like I'm just waiting for them to have an issue with me because of what I've dealt with in the past. And I had to learn to let that go. And when I did, God blessed me with opportunity where I was able to meet a great group of people and worship with them and, spend time with them and stuff like that. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was still holding on to the drama from the past. It's easier said than done, but it's something we have to do for ourselves. So it's a part of self-love, and we know that that's important, to forgive. Be honest with God. Forgiveness goes back to talking to God. That's it. Being like, God, I choose to forgive because you say I should, but I'm going to punch on her face because X, Y, and Z. And that's being honest, right? That's being honest. So before I let you go, I want you to know that I'll be praying for you. If you guys have any prayer requests, please put in the comments. If you guys want to look into family therapy, I'm going to post a link under this video of a great family counseling, like 2 counselors that are really awesome. They do virtual therapy as well, therapy sessions, as well as in-person sessions if you're in the Atlanta area. But again, comment, share, subscribe. It's been my pleasure. I'm praying for you guys. Remember that we can get through this. These times are hard. 2020 is difficult, but he that began a good work in us will be faithful to complete it. I woke up this morning with a song, ooh child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh child, things are gonna get brighter. I don't know who wrote it, can't remember. I don't have rights to it, but it was so encouraging just to wake up with those words in my heart. And I want to tell you today that God is with you. He's with us all. He loves us so much. And I love you too.